What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's Maverick here today with another episode of Isekai Meikyuu de Harem, or of course, Labyrinth Harem, or whatever else you want to call it, right? I think this gets the point across. So yeah, I've decided to keep on watching for now. It seems that the anime is going in a little bit more rapid direction than I originally thought. It's not exactly to its benefit, though. I've said numerous times before that I feel like part of what makes this particular work so intriguing for me is the sort of consistency and the cautiousness which the main character approaches situations, how he plans things out, etc., etc. Overtly cautious, some may say, but I dig it, right? Whereas here, it seems that we're just really blazing through a lot, especially with the first episode in mind. We're just blazing through a lot of, a lot of what the MC's internal monologues are, what worries he has, what precautions he does, and getting to the action bits, and the naughty action bits, if you will, which I'm guessing is probably one of the main draws of this anime as well. But in any case, I've decided to continue watching on. And by the way, there is another isekai, I guess, sort of isekai anime this season as well, called Isekai Oji-san. I do recommend that work, except I'm not going to watch it because that one, unlike this one, requires even more for you to be in the dark for it to be enjoyable. So, but anyways, feel free to check that one out. It's definitely a pretty unique take on the work. It's not your typical sort of like isekai fantasy setting, but it's intriguing, alright? So, with that being said though, let's just jump right into this one and see where we go from here. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Story of a possible future? Ooh. Wait. What? Oh, okay. I'm guessing this is just to provide some service to the readers and whatnot. Just to see all the girls. I definitely don't think we're going to get to anywhere near that number in this season. In fact, I'd be very impressed if they finish with 2. Roxanne and the second one, Sherry. In fact, is this kind of like anime original? I don't remember reading this in the novels, actually. Huh. Interesting. In 10 years, it's actually pretty... there's a pretty big probability it's probably a different course. There. It's his child. I honestly don't remember this part. Nine, but, huh? I actually don't remember him holding anyone from the village while he was still there. What? Passing that on to him? Is that Dorinda, though? But I seriously don't understand why we're jumping into this In the second episode of the season. What? By the way, like all five of these are the slaves in his harem, and they're all different races. No, I seriously don't understand why we're doing this in the second episode of the season. What? Is this like just some sort of excuse to show off all the other girls? Because it's gonna be ages before we get to them? I mean, I can totally see that happening, to be honest. Because, like I said, this series is actually quite slow in the way that they build up towards the main storyline. So if we're going really by a faithful adaptation and no, and really like taking time and whatnot, I would I would venture a guess and say by the end of this season we're only up to the second girl. But so that's why I was really intrigued by this particular opening scene as well, because we see all the girls here. So it's really yeah, and it seems that they are going to be fighting as well. So I honestly don't get it. Like, how exactly are they gonna do this? Are they going to do like ultra, like uber time skips? I have to say though, even if they do that, I wouldn't really be pleased with it. I would rather them do a faithful adaptation. Okay, never mind. The sword that he gave to Kid wasn't Durandal. By the if any of you guys are wondering like why it's five girls, I don't. I'm guessing they might not actually go through the entire like world systems in this world, but basically a party has a maximum of 6 members. So our main character plus his 5 harem members, that creates one party. So now you're explaining the bonus point system. All right. Well, no, you didn't give any explanation at all. All right, never mind. I'll talk more about later in the musing section. Yeah, Michio has like a cheat ability because he can literally see the status of everything, right? So like I said, even if he didn't have all of his like bonus points, bonus skills, bonus equipment, just having that ability itself is like super ultra cheat. Hey, field walk. Warp. Oh, actually no, never mind. He hasn't gone inside yet, so he can't use warp yet. So anyway, since I don't think they're really going to go too far into like his bonus point system. So essentially, compared to like other characters or other people in this world, he's special in that he has this sort of like bonus system where you can consider like every time he levels up, he can gain some bonus points that he's able to spend on either equipment or skills or status effects or things of that sort, and he can reset it at any time. So essentially, if we're looking at this from a gaming RPG perspective, he can sort of like respec anytime he wants to. And so here, what the important part that we mentioned in the first episode, where he got the hero skill, he got the hero job, he got the thief job, now he gets the explorer job, right? So this is a world where you actually get these jobs by doing things related to these jobs. Yeah. So this particular isekai uses a very gamified system here, and it's actually persistent throughout the entire series. So it's not something that they, like I said, they don't just put it in an the author doesn't just put it as an afterthought, but it's actually constantly there. He's constantly respecking. He's constantly checking out his status effects and so on and so forth, and he's constantly doing like mix and matching with his jobs and with his skills. Yep. A item drop. Hmm? Only overwhelming? I thought it was power overwhelming. Alright, never mind. Oh, okay, they are actually showing this part. I feel like they could have done something to signify that Durandal has an MP recovery effect, though. But I do think the guild system in this world is kind of like it's definitely funny in a lot of ways, to be honest. Why don't you just call it? Why would you call it teleport? That. Uh, I mean, the skill is actually called warp in Japanese, so I feel like they could have just went with warp instead of teleport. And definitely, I feel like warp describes it a little bit better than teleport, because teleport you think of something where you just instantly disappear and appear somewhere else. Whereas this is a skill where he needs to open a door and then open another door and bridge the path, bridge the distance in between, right? So it's sort of like a warp door. Dun dun dun. I guess it kind of depends on which perspective you're looking at it from. The animation for this is really pretty low budget, to be honest. Yeah, they're really. Well, I mean, to be fair, this encounter, like, I actually don't think this particular encounter was all that interesting in terms of the early days of Michio diving down into the dungeon. I thought it was much more interesting watching him experiment and utilizing his skills, getting to know like the behaviors of the monsters, that kind of thing. But definitely as far as events go, this was much more of a, how can I put it, much more of a major event for Michio. Hey, money's money. Chance da. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Actually, the pacing of this episode was, I think, relatively to how it I thought it should be. Obviously, they cut out a lot of stuff as well, but anyways, since we already heard this last time, I'm just gonna keep this here. We'll talk more during the music section. Alright guys, that was episode 2 of the Isekai Meikyuu de Harem, and definitely there were a few places where I was surprised. I certainly wasn't expecting them to sort of like give us a sneak peek and a preview of like what's going to happen later on down the road with Michio and his harem and whatnot. All the girls that eventually go to him and form his party. As I mentioned before, I don't really think this is that you can think of this as a spoiler. I mean, to me, any kind of world building stuff doesn't really count as spoilers. So, anyways, in this world, parties are formed with 6 people, 6 members, and so that is basically why Michio's harem in the end consisted of himself and 5 other girls. It's basically that kind of perspective, and obviously, he actually it's quite how can I put this? So obviously he's looking for girls, right? But at the same time, he is also trying to round out his party's fighting power, because at the end of the day, he is quite keen on being an adventurer and doing dungeon dives and whatnot. So he wants a well-rounded party that can support him to do this. So this goes to your classic RPG tropes, right? Like you need a front line, you need a back line, you need the DPS, you need the support and healer, and so on and so forth. And so that is how basically he eventually rounds out his harem and rounds out the rest of the people that he gathers. But obviously that is like way later on down the future. I do still have this kind of sneaking suspicion that probably we only saw this sort of like, I wouldn't really even say flashback. This would be like flash forward scene, because they want to let us see, the future of Michio and the future of all the girls that are around him. And I guess to a certain extent, I can understand why. Like I said, this is a very slow work. If we are going by like timings and whatnot, like this is literally, I can't quite remember, but I recall that we didn't even get to the second girl within like, was it 100 chapters? Well, that's the web novel. Obviously, later on in the light novel and the manga, they quickened the pace a little bit as well. But even in the manga though, like it was far later on, and we had Roxanne, and actually we had Michio himself by his lonesome for quite the amount of time, and then we had Roxanne join, and then even after Roxanne, it was a very long time until Sherry joined, and then so on and so forth, and it continued to extend on, right? So it's definitely a slow process here. So probably the animated production studio is trying to allow us to at least have some eye candy beyond just Roxanne and Sherry, so that we can have some anticipation for the series and for potentially our favorite girls and so on and so forth. So it was interesting. Like I don't really know where that scene from the beginning came from. I don't really have a recollection of that. But then again, it has been some time since I've read it again, so maybe I've just forgotten about it. But definitely the earlier parts of this were the early parts of this series are the parts that really stuck to my memory, and including like how Michio eventually decided to go into a dungeon, go into a labyrinth, and what he did initially, like going forward cautiously, trying out skills one by one, trying out his attacks one by one, taking time to go through like various jobs and various skills, constantly resetting his bonus points and bonus skills to allow him. So by the way, since I guess this is a good timing and to talk a little bit about the bonus skill system, because they didn't really go too much into it here. So basically, what the world that this operates on is a job system, right? So you have a job, which is you're a warrior, or you're a knight, or you're a healer, or you're a mage, like that kind of job, right? And job have job levels, and when you level up with your job levels, you will gain certain other skills as well. And so that is typically how a normal person in this world, gains more experience, gains more stats, gains more skills, and etc. etc. That is their progression system. However, Michio here actually has this cheat ability, which is, not only can he utilize all these normal class skills and whatnot, he has bonus skills as well, and those are utilized by his bonus points. His bonus points are utilized in a way where he can spend his bonus points on any sort of bonus skill or bonus equipment. Like Durandal is actually a bonus equipment, and his warp, they call it teleport here, but I'm just gonna call it warp, is also a bonus skill as well. Or his like 30% discount or 30% selling skill, 30% buying skill, discount buying skill, that kind of stuff. Those are also all bonus skills that he can utilize freely, just by resetting his skill points and then putting them into his into whatever skills that he wishes. So this makes him very flexible, right? So beyond just the normal skills, he's able to build specifically to do something. And these bonus skills are aside from the normal class skill. So they operate on an entirely different system, and they not only include like utility skills like what I said before, buying, selling, and teleportation, warping, that kind of stuff, but actually also like offensive skills, defensive skills, and magic as well. So that's something to look forward to in the future, and definitely the series does utilize this to great effect to allow Michio to have an edge over just your normal people. So that is one thing for all of this. And I'm not sure if they are going to talk more about this in the future, but in any case, no, that's that. Another part here where we kind of also glossed over is the fact that Michio is able to look at an item. He's able to identify the item. Like I said, one of his biggest cheats, even beyond all those bonus skills and whatnot, is the fact that he's able to just pull out the status of any person, any being, or any item that he puts his hands upon. Right, he lays his hands upon. So that means that there's really nothing that can deceive him, and he's able to see clearly like what that item is, what that person actually is, who that person actually is, their powers, and so on and so forth. Right, their power level and whatnot. So here it was mentioned like quite fleetingly, but we see that within all those different items, right, there's this concept of item skill slots. Right, so this is also a concept from a very common gaming concept. In fact, when I initially like looked at this and how they actually drop these sort of like skills and now, I'm not gonna spoil too much, but it actually reminded me a lot of Ragnarok Online. So I don't know like how many people have played that game or whatnot, but basically there's a lot of systems utilized here that are very, very in line with if you play MMORPGs, if you play like JRPGs or whatnot, you should be able to get all of this immediately and say, this is the system that they're going for, and combining all these different stuffs into one storyline here. So that's also part of the reason why I find this series so charming in a way. The fact that they really take a lot of time to build up the world system here, even if you say it's heavily influenced from so many different games and genres and whatnot, but still, being able to add all of them together and to make it into an entertaining story as well, that's definitely something I appreciate here. The part where he entered into the labyrinth and started going off and doing stuff, I mean, that I think that entire part pretty much it was portrayed as expected. I didn't really expect them to really go deep into like every thought and detail of Michio. We would never have time for that, right? We'd be literally stuck on the fourth episode with him still just about to fight, or just about to finish the fight with those and with that Needlewood room. But I mean, it basically tells you the basic concepts of what he's doing right now, right? So he's going to the first floor, or at least the early floors, and he's fighting monsters. Monsters have drops, and the fact that he's doing this alone, it puts him at a disadvantage. But because he has Durandal, which has HP and MP absorption, he's able to get rid of the need for resupplying and healing and all that stuff. And so he's able to do this longer than most, but still ultimately, because this is still a lower level floor, he's not going to be able to earn money in time, right? And so that ties us into like the end of this episode, and Michio's decision to hunt bandits, to get bounties, and honestly, like the entire bandit hunting scene, and his decision process, and what went through his mind as he was doing this, really solidified this as a series that I wanted to keep on following and reading. So yeah, so let's just leave it at that, right? And in the next episode, we'll see how exactly he goes about it. Hopefully, they will take care to really go through everything. If they actually adapt it correctly, I would expect the next episode to completely consist of the bandit slaying and stuff, and then finally at the end, maybe he will have bought Roxanne, and then we will be able to see Roxanne and Michio's interactions from episode 4 onwards. Yeah, I think that's basically it. So if we follow that kind of time schedule, then 3 episodes here, then Roxanne, and then maybe another 3 episodes, and then Sherry. Yeah, I still have this kind of sneaking suspicion that if they aren't going to overtly rush things along, then I still believe that by the end of the season, like the normal season, I don't care about like their flash forwards into the future or whatnot. But if we're going by the actual timeline, like the current time within the anime, then I feel like by the end of this season, we will probably have like two female characters, two confirmed members of Michiu's harem that will be on screen. So, is that so or not? I don't know, but those are my guesses for now. So yeah, in any case, let me know what you guys think, and if you guys want me to also talk about more stuff. Again, you know, it's kind of hard to balance like what is theory crafting here and what is just simply explaining some stuff that the anime has failed to address yet. You know, some stuff that's from the original novels and whatnot. I definitely, to me, this I like to do a lot of this sort of like guessings and theories and whatnot as to like certain systems, how he's going to utilize it, and so on and so forth. But obviously that doesn't really work here because I already know what's going to happen, right? So yeah, let me know if there's any specific way that you guys want me to take this series or talk about anything. And yeah, I am open to ideas and suggestions, or I'll just keep doing as I'm doing right now and adding some supplementary information for those who might have just are just watching the anime and not the novels or manga. And you know, if up to this point you are actually at all interested, I highly recommend you to heck, even just read the manga. Actually, the manga artwork is quite nice. You know, if you're looking at it at a place where, you know, if you want both, right? If you want both the sort of like hardcore world building and overtly complicated explanations as to the mechanics and how Michio goes about things, it's in there. If you want the H scenes as well, they're there as well, and they're drawn quite nicely. So I would actually recommend that if you want the best of both worlds, just read the manga, and that would be enough. And in fact, I would say actually that probably the end of the manga would be about where we end this particular season, unless they, you know, they just zoom and zip past through all the other chapters. But yeah, anyways, that's it for now. Thank you guys. I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.